What you get if you cross Saucony Endorphin Pro with the Saucony Endorphin Speed, want to make an everyday trainer, you get Saucony Triumph 21, an everyday shoe that is good for most people. Full disclaimer, I purchased these shoes with my own cash, so the views and opinions that you hear today are going to be mine and mine. I've had the shoe now for a little while, and taking it out, I've probably done about 60 miles in the shoe. Now, this is one of the shoes that I've found really difficult to make a video on for a number of reasons. And the number one reason really for me is, and I'm not going to hide away from this at all, is this is a shoe that I personally am going to have to accept that I think the majority of people will like. And this is a good shoe. It's just not a shoe for me. This is a shoe that I don't necessarily get on with every shoe. And let's take a look at some examples of shoes that I don't necessarily like, but I think are good. So we have the Vomero 16, and a lot of people like the shoe. There is a number of things good in the shoe. There are pods in here. You know, the foam in here is perfectly okay. Some people enjoy the shoe. This shoe is definitely not for me. Then we have this RC Elite number 2, and I actually think this is a good shoe. This is a carbon plate shoe, quite an expensive carbon plate shoe, and even roughly £150 when I bought it this year. And you know, again, loads of people kind of enjoy this shoe. This is a different style of foam. This is a really soft foam. It's just probably not one of the better shoes for me. It doesn't really work for me. I think that the balance of this really hard carbon plate, really soft foam doesn't work at all. And last but not least, the VaporFly number 2. Now, I will even hold my hands up here and say that this is the fastest shoe of all time. Put this shoe in the right hands and, you know, it will go extremely fast. I just don't like the shoe. I loved the VaporFly number 1. I thought it was an amazing shoe. Whatever they did to the number 2, they tweaked the foam, it just didn't work for me. And I'm not the biggest fan of this shoe. So this is a PowerRun PB foam shoe, similar to what you find in the Endorphin Pro series or the Endorphin Speed, and there's a lot of it here. So this is just a pure slab of PowerRun PB. It's a 39mm in the heel and a 29mm in the forefoot, giving it about a 10mm offset of the shoe. Now this shoe is a size 9 and it weighs about 10.1 ounces. So for an everyday shoe, I think this is a really good weight, and you know, not too heavy, but just enough there for what you want it to do. Additionally, this upper, completely describe this as a plush upper. You know, there's lots of padding in the heel counter. There's this pull stretch thing here, which just to pull it on, but you don't really need that, so you can hang it up. There's also a kind of plastic plate there, kind of cup support in the heel, which keeps you locked into the shoe. You know, I think this shoe is okay for people with wide feet. The toe box in the shoe is perfectly fine. The upper again is a good fine upper. There's nothing special here. It's kind of just a standard material upper. I would describe this upper as an everyday use upper. You know, don't be expecting something like the Saucony Endorphin 3 or 4 or something like that from the Speed even. This is an everyday wear and tear, really hardy upper, really plush upper. So it's an all-round kind of really plush. Taking this out on runs, the longest run I did in the shoe was a 15-mile run. Now, in terms of I think what it can do, it's absolutely fine. You know, I think it does hold heat well. I also think it dissipates heat. So for a shoe of this style, what it's trying to do is everyday miles, you're going to be in it for quite a lot. Your feet are going to get warm. It retains enough heat, particularly now in October here, where it's going to get cold. It's going to contain enough heat to, you know, keep your feet feeling comfortable, but also is going to dissipate enough heat as well. In my opinion, you can have too much of a good thing. So this PowerRun PB Plus in the Saucony line, Endorphin and Speed is perfectly good, but there's not so much of it, and there's a carbon plate. Now you take that carbon plate out of that shoe, and I think it should absolutely work. I was hoping for an experience of a Nike Invincible Run 2. Even though it's a responsive shoe, it's not a fast shoe. So it's definitely not a tempo shoe. I do like a little bit of nip, even in my everyday shoes. It doesn't mean to say that you will not enjoy the energy return. For me, in the shoe is definitely there. I think all the action kind of lives in this mid to heel, and you know, the big chunk of that foam is absolutely there. So what I miss in the shoe, because I'm so used to this foam, is I am missing that even if it's just a TPU carbon plate in here just to give that zip. You know, I don't need that on all shoes at all on an everyday easy shoe. But with this foam, it could be my foot is so used to this PowerRun PB that it's expecting that zip of the foam. So what I found myself was that I didn't really necessarily enjoy the ride. The energy return is definitely there in the shoe, but it's all in this mid to back section here, which is not where I tend to run. So the transition from heel to forefoot is there. But for me, when you get to the forefoot, there's just nothing kind of there. Now, I'm not going for a tempo ride, I am going for an everyday ride. And it's perfectly fine. It's absolutely fine. It feels nice, it's comfortable, it is plush. But for me personally, it just doesn't work. Now, the good points of the shoes, there are many good points of the shoe, I think, for many different people. So the good points of the shoe is, I think there's a lot of PowerRun PB foam. The majority of people will enjoy the foam in this shoe. I think there's a lot of PowerRun PB here. For me, this is a 10-ounce shoe, about 288 grams, which for an everyday shoe, I think is a good weight. For me, on foot, it feels a bit ploddy, it feels heavier than that, but for the majority of people, I think this will feel like a really, really good weighted shoe for the amount that you pay, and we'll get onto that. Now, this upper looks like it's made really well. You know, it's not like a racing upper, it's not like a kind of a speed upper. It is basically a functional everyday upper that I think, as I say, will dissipate the heat reasonably well. I think it's quite hardy as well, so this will last. It fits nice. The heel counter's plush. The forefoot is nice. The toe box is got enough room in there. So I think that's absolutely, you know, fine. And I think for somebody who wants an all-round everyday shoe that's not for a tempo shoe, I cannot stress that enough. This is simply not a shoe. This is an everyday run workhorse shoe. So I picked the shoe up for £110. Now, at that price, I think I'm reasonably happy at that price. I think this shoe, in its favour against a lot of other shoes, I think will last in excess of 600k. This shoe in hand, when you look at the tread, I think everything combined, I think this shoe will go for a long time. So at £110, I definitely think the value is there. Now, the RRP of this shoe is about £160. And this is where part of me wants to say that's quite expensive for this type of shoe. However, there is a caveat to that. So it is an expensive shoe compared to something like the Symmetros 2. Now, Symmetros 2 for me is a similar shoe to the Triumph 21 in the way that it feels, in what it's trying to do, that everyday running shoe. Durability wise, I think that this will pretty much last as long as the Triumph 21. I think the Triumph 21 will last slightly longer. But in terms of price and what the two shoes can do, I picked this up for £30. You know, I did have a code and that kind of stuff, but you can pick this up for about £50 new on a deal from the Reebok store. And I have to say, there isn't much difference in terms of foot feel. You know, this is an okay shoe. You know, I actually think this is a good shoe. I like the stack height in the shoe. I like the foam in the shoe. You know, it's never going to set the world on fire. It's not a particularly fast shoe, but if you're talking like for like, this is a very comparable shoe, and actually at a fraction of the price. But we also have the king, I think, of the everyday shoe. So this is the Reebok Float Ride Energy at number 4. So I think this Float Ride Energy number 5 can do everything that the Triumph 21 can do. There isn't a big stack in here at all. So as you can see, that the stack height in the Triumph 21, that 39mm in there is superior to the shoe. And again, even though I think that the Triumph 21, I do think that foam in the right implementation is definitely better. PowerRun PB is a fantastic foam. I just think the implementation for me in that and the amount of it, doesn't work for me, and I think that this works better. And again, at a fraction of the price, you can pick these up new for 40 to 50 pounds new. You can get 3 pairs of these for the price of this. So actually, when you do the math, you're actually going to get longer shoes, a longer wearing shoes if you purchase 3 of these. So I think the key thing for me here is if you're going to pick up this shoe at £160, so you can get the Endorphin Pro 3, even the 4 for around £180, even the Speed for around that price as well. So it really depends on what it is. If you're looking for a daily trainer that you really want to use every day, it's going to be the workhorse, that's going to last longer than the Speed or the Pro, or the elements of a good shoe. So PowerRun PB foam is a fantastic foam. So the upper is going to last you a long while. It's comfortable, it's plush, it's not too hot. I think if this shoe lasts over 600 miles, I think it will run it close to that mark. And in that case, if this is going to be for everyday shoes and you're going to cover miles and miles in the shoe, I think the majority of people will like this shoe. And I'm in the minority of people that it's not that I don't like the shoe, it just doesn't work for me. So they have the Triumph 21 from Saucony, a really good everyday shoe. And it just goes to prove that just because I'm not the biggest fan of something doesn't mean that it's not a good shoe. And I'm never going to hide away from the fact that just because I don't get on with something or don't think that something, doesn't fit me quite right, that it's still not a really good shoe. It's still not an excellent shoe. It's just me on this occasion. And on that note, please don't forget to comment. I'd love to know what shoes that maybe you like, maybe that you don't like, whether you agree with me, whether you don't agree with my comments and opinions. Please don't forget to like, favourite and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Have a good day. And of course, I'll see you on the next one. Take care.